help us to pass some time, we do kindly ask that you place all larger hand baggage securely into the overhead lockers. Any smaller bags that have been tagged by our ground colleague.
Uh-huh. I'm 19, so. No, wait, I'm 19. Yeah, okay. I was.
My name is James Hardman. It's my pleasure to be the captain on board the service this morning. Joining me on the flight deck, Senior First Officer Richard.
Please, doors to automatic and cross-check. Doors to automatic and cross-check, please. Cabin crew seats for takeoff, please.
It's in Chinese.
Good morning, my name is Louise, I'm the in-flight lead and it's my pleasure to welcome you all on board today. A special welcome to those of you returning from our executive club and those of you joining from our one-way.
Stop us by
contact our colleagues who will be happy to help.
Cabin crew doors to manual hand cross-check, thank you.
Yes, that's true. When we bought this house, our house is just